Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another of the series of the career from Career Catchers, career readiness. And today we have a presentation on job search strategies by Larry Wright. We also have Ms. Kunda from Career Catchers in the chat for those joining us online. So if you have any questions, do post them at the chat. We will convey them to Larry, or Kunda will try to answer as well. So once again, welcome, and thank you, Larry.
Oh, thanks, Eduardo. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Before we start, okay, I really want you all to be as engaged as possible. That is in person and virtual. So please utilize the chat. Do not hesitate to ask questions. Do not feel free to stop me at any time. Okay. Today we'll talk about job searching strategies, and that is more of a broad topic. But if you have about IT specific details, feel free to ask that as well. Okay. You are all, here to, go into IT careers, correct? You're looking to delve into a career in IT, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, we can get started, Eduardo. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, the objectives of the day is to learn how to create a job searching plan. You'll learn how to find information about your industry, that being IT or anywhere else. You'll learn the best practices of online job searching. There are multiple avenues that you can go, and I want you to actually be informed about all of those. And also learn the best practices for networking, right? Because when you're when you're looking for a job, yeah, it's about your resume, your background, your experiences, your education. But it also includes the people you know and the places you've been. And we want to incorporate those things in all facets. Okay? We can move on. Thank you. So before we go on, the first thing I want you to think about is what has recently transpired in the last few years, which was COVID, right? We all endured a pandemic and it changed our lives, right? We were all used to going in the building, working 100% in whatever organization you were working in, right? Whether it was in the school, in IT and finance, in the supermarket, anywhere, right? You were 100% working in the building for the most part. Then things changed. We began to learn what virtual work was, what hybrid work was, and people started having different preferences. So right now you may be in a different place than you were before the pandemic. Talking about happily employed, you want to think about if you are employed and you're still looking for a job, or do you plan to be unemployed, or do you plan to be employed, right? And when I say unemployed, you can be an entrepreneur, but you may not be working for someone else. Okay. So in that aspect, you got to think of where you are in your life right now. And if you're going into a different industry, you got to understand there are preferences that may not be appeased by the person that you're looking to work for or the organization you're looking to work for, whether that be in person or virtual or whatever place or location you look to work. Okay. So let's keep that in mind. You can move on up. So there are a few things that job seekers need. Can anyone tell me? You can put your answers in the chat. But what are some needs and necessities of a job seeker? What do you guys feel like you need as someone who's looking for a job? And you may see them on the board, but something else would be great. Okay. Anything? What'd you say? We do need them all, okay? We do need a resume, right? We need a cover letter. We need to have an interview. We have to have a network of people who we know that may offer these opportunities. We have to have an elevator pitch. Does anyone know what an elevator pitch is? Yes. Yes. So if you were to walk in a building, say you walk into the school, right? And see someone in the elevator, you have to go to the second floor, you see someone in the elevator, and they might be an employer, right? You don't know, but you see a name on their jacket or on their shirt. And they ask you, how you doing? What do you do? Or who are you? What is the fastest way that you can get your background, your skill sets, your education across to that person that you're speaking to, right? That's an elevator pitch. You want to be able to speak about your knowledge as fast as possible, because by the time that you get off the elevator, you want that person to know who you are and what you do, okay? So just keep that in mind. Think about the skill sets that you have and the experiences that you have in any form, okay? Skills are very much transferable, and I know that was a topic a week before, but just think about those skill sets, okay? And there are a lot of transferable skills, such as communication, such as team building, leadership, etc. Okay, but yeah, you always want to practice your elevator speech. Industry knowledge. Does anyone know what industry knowledge is, or where to find it? Yes. So if I said Walmart, what industry would that be? Retail, exactly. If I said Comcast, what industry is that? More of like a service provider, right? You know. If I said who knows, McDonald's, what is that? Food services, exactly. So you want to know exactly what industry you're looking to go in, and you want to have knowledge about the largest organizations and the lower levels, maybe the nonprofits, etc. And you want to know exactly what they do, who they serve, and what are the roles that are incorporated into those industries. And how do you fit in? How do you fit into the organizations or the industry, per se, okay? So just keep in mind what industry knowledge is. For IT, a lot of the industry knowledge comes from professionals who are doing tier 1, tier 2 help desk support, which is, it's like repairing computers, helping with software, etc. But then you have to go up to cloud computing and networking and cybersecurity. These things are more advanced, but you'll have that knowledge and you'll have a clear career pathway, so you'll be able to start from a tier support or help desk and end in a cloud computing role or a cybersecurity role. Credentials. What are your credentials? Did you graduate high school? Do you have a GED? Do you have a college diploma? Are you in college currently? All of these things, you can earn credentials. You can also earn credentials. Yes. Who they serve. This is the industry knowledge piece, right? That's what they do. That's who they serve. That is the roles that they have. So maybe the job titles, the opportunities that you might want to apply for. How large is the industry? So how many organizations are actually held within this industry? What is their reputation, right? Because you'll get a certain reputation when you say you have a certain job title or you have a certain role. All of these things are kind of like part of your industry knowledge. No problem. And then you have your credentials and your resume. Oh, I may have already said that, okay? But yeah, all of these things are something that a job seeker needs to know before they put in those applications, spend that time, and actually go for those interviews or even indulge. Okay. Next, you want to make a plan. First thing you actually want to do is make a plan, but after you figure out what direction you want to go in, what is your ultimate goal? Your ultimate goal is personal. It can be something that you have for yourself, or maybe a direction that you didn't see going, right? See yourself going, and it might have changed. So your ultimate goal can change as time goes on, right? As you gain experiences and understanding. What are the barriers? We all go through things day in and day out, and we must, figure out what we can do to overcome these obstacles and barriers. And that could be transportation, that could be childcare, that could be housing, language, that is an important one. Financial, all of these barriers we have to endure, and we just want to make sure that we're able to provide services and find resources that will help us to do so. Right? Yes. Yes.
What is your
Yes.
kind of brought you here as you're listening to what Larry's saying, what we're presenting? What would you say is one of your, so you don't have to have it set in stone, right? The beauty of goals is that they change as we evolve. So if you were to ask you to answer the first two questions, either answer what is your ultimate goal, or what currently are one of your, since you're looking at me,
Yes, ma'am. Because you were engaged, you're looking at me. I appreciate you.
My ultimate goal is to get hired. I was laid off in late September, and I'm in the development field, actually, like fundraising. And my goal is to be hired in the DC metro area. And I guess barriers is that I'm pivoting or transitioning to another area of development that is not the same one that I was working in. So I have to really highlight a lot of my skill sets as transferable instead of just talking about getting like a job and the kind of job that I was doing before. That was major gifts. I'd like to do more. I'd like to do more like grants writing, for instance. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my barrier.
Okay. No, I understand. And that's honestly, that's something that a lot of people have to figure out, right? What is the need in an organization or in a role? Because you may go to a place such as Tech Systems or Tesco, these are IT companies, and they may need a grant writer. You know what I mean? They may need someone who has that background knowledge and are able to transfer those skills. So that is something that you can use to place yourself above the next campus. Anyone else? Want to go now to go?
I'm here to get job.
Okay.
That you can help me to get job.
Mm.
And I understand that I have barrier. For example, my language, because English is my second language, and my English limited. And I understand that I cannot find a job that I want. That's why for me, I wanted to be here. I needed your help.
Yes,
Mhm.
I understand. One thing I will say is you seem to very good English to me. I know you have your own feelings, but having someone who is bilingual is ideal for a lot of organizations as well. So if you're going to say, yeah, I can speak Spanish or such and such language as well as English, and I can communicate with a certain community, that is something that will be major in your job search. And I think that should be highlighted whenever we create our plan. And I think it'll help a lot, you know. So it's something to think about. You know, I don't think it's as much of a barrier as it may be an advantage in that sense. Okay. But thank you. Does anyone else want to share? Okay. What are some must-haves? Right? Your salary, your expectations, your scheduling. What might alter those thoughts? What might cause you to say, I want a certain amount of money, or I can only work mornings? What do you feel like would do that? Anyone? Yes.
Looking part-time job,
Mhm.
and I can work anytime, morning, it depends. I can work overtime, I can work nighttime.
Mhm. Yeah.
I have license. Just I'm not sure if I want to get hired. For example, I am CNA,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure that I want to do that now.
Yes.
Because yes, I have experience, big experience, but I don't think so that I wanted that.
Yes,
Mm.
most certainly.
Mm.
And in a way, your barriers and your must-haves go hand in hand, right? Those barriers that, that you may not be able to get around with maybe childcare or whatever, transportation. You may have to find something local, so that's a must-have. You may need this time off to take care of your child, so that's a must-have, right? So knowing your own situation is important for, figuring out exactly what direction you want to go. What do you bring to the table? And everyone brings something different to the table. I don't think anyone brings any more or any less. I just think knowing your uniqueness and knowing your skill sets is important. And you have to study yourself, right? You might know that you're able to write grants or speak another language, etc. But when you get into that space, sometimes it's hard to speak on it because you're not thinking about that, right? So just studying yourself, studying your background, understanding your education is important. And what you do every week to achieve your goal, what you can do every week, put in an application, staying consistent. How do you divide your efforts, right? You still have to go to work. You still might have a job, or you still might be figuring things out while you're doing your job search. So being able to divide your efforts while doing so is important. And identifying roles and their companies, right? Once again, you might know about a McDonald's, but you might not know about a Tesco or Tech Systems. And that's something to understand when you're making your plan. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that aspect of it, making your plan? Okay. And feel free, continue in the chat. Please ask your questions in the chat as well. Yes.
With the must-haves, and I'm asking this to everybody, how important is salary to you? And do you know what your target salary is? Because I think that a lot of times when we're looking for work, we just say, okay, I'm looking for a job, right? And whatever salary they're gonna give me. Do you all take the time to really think about what will it take for me to be able to maintain and sustain myself if I get XYZ job? Is that something that you all are like, literally it's like creating a budget for yourself, right? So in order for me to work at Comcast, for example, if I work in Comcast as a developer, I don't have a lot of experience. I'm just, let's say, completing my certifications, right? So maybe I'll start off, let's just say hypothetically at 50,000. Will that 50,000 be enough for me to pay my rent, my car note, buy my food, if I have children, will that be enough? Because sometimes we rush into positions and jobs without really thinking about it. And then when we get there, we're like, oh no, this is not gonna work. I'm spending too much money on transportation. I don't have enough to pay, So one of the things that we are addressing here when we're saying to make that plan, and when you're seeing that salary, it's not just saying that, oh, I need 80,000, but what does that 80,000 mean to me if I actually get it? Will it be enough to sustain? So when you're thinking about salary, think about what does it mean to maintain my household? And there may be some times where we have to take that break, in salary, right? And if I do, what is the plan? So I want to get into IT, and I know that my ideal salary is 80,000, but I can get this job at Comcast as a developer for 50,000. How am I going to fill in that gap? Do I have a family member that can move in with me? Do I have a spouse? Do I have a partner? What can I do in the interim so that I can still focus on getting the skills that I need, but I have to understand that there's a deficit in my finances, and how do I fix that deficit? These are things most of us don't think about until later. And I can tell you this from experience as a coach, those are things that come back and say, oh my gosh, Ms. K, maybe I shouldn't have taken this job. And then we have to think about, okay, no, you need to take this job because you're trying to get into this industry. Perhaps we can look for a part-time job. Can you work a part-time job to fill in that gap? Is it possible? Depending on your lifestyle. So these are things you really want to think about. And then scheduling. Can I work in the mornings, or do I only have to work at night? Can I do mid shift? You know what I mean? So think about these things. Somebody in the chat said work-life balance. How important is a work-life balance to you? Is it really important? Because for some people it's not. But if it is important to you, what does that actually mean? How can you articulate that when you go into an interview? Because you have to come with your whole self, right? So what does that actually mean when you're coming with your whole self? That means that I can't work from You know, I can't work past 9 o'clock because I actually need to go home and sleep because I need, in order for me to function properly, I need to be in bed by 11 o'clock, not getting home at 11 o'clock at night. So these are things you really need to think about as you're thinking about where you're going in your careers. You know, what is it you want to do? Even if you're pursuing school, what does that look like for you? Okay? Back to you, sir.
Oh, that was perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes.
Back in the technology, you say, you have to learn McDonald's or Comcast and all that.
Mhm.
But how do you actually, maybe your mentality is one company, but what you're doing is in different places as well. Could be in the hospital, IT in the
Yes.
hospital, IT and things like that. So
Yes.
I guess I'm just wondering how you do that search.
No, that is true. Because there are IT specialists in a hospital or in a college. I think it's just understanding the masses, right? Because even though you may have IT jobs in a hospital, there may be more IT jobs with Comcast, or there may be more with Verizon, or more with an organization where they specialize in that certain thing. But that doesn't mean block out everything else. That's just more so knowing the industry and knowing who's the strongest competitors and some of the others. It's so there's an if you look online, it's a website called O-Net, right? O-Net is more so it tells you about market and industry data, and they'll tell you, what is the average salary of a role. They can tell you the highest paying jobs, the lowest paying jobs, or even the strongest companies in an industry, right? O-Net has a lot of data surrounding each market or each industry and field, per se.
And it show a lot of companies
Yes.
have that.
So you're saying, how do you find out exactly which IT companies?
Yeah.
So you read reviews, you do background research, you do a lot of research online, depending on if you're hell bent on an organization, a specific company. And in other instances, you might have to look at a role and what that role entails, and then do your make your plan based off of a role. So a help desk role or an AV audio role, they may be entry level IT, and you may be able to do your job search based off that, opposed to looking at an organization and only the opportunities they have available. That makes sense.
If I may piggyback on that as well, this is where whenever you're looking for a job, it's really important for you to research. Because to Larry's point, pretty much every organization today has some level of IT, right? So it's just up to you. Where do you want to go? Do you want to work in education? MCPS has got IT. Montgomery College has got IT. If you want to work in the food industry, even companies such as Chipotle and McDonald's, if you go to their corporate side, there's IT there. Are you looking at the supermarket, Safeway, Giant, there's IT, Costco. So it really depends. And remember, every single organization you see has a bigger part to it. Starbucks, there is the corporate side, and then with corporate, there are corporate opportunities, right? So it's really about doing the job search, right? Whenever you're looking for a job, it's really important for you to research. Research is part of the job search strategy. And that's what I was saying. A lot of people just jump into things without really, thinking through. But I want to get into IT. I'm not sure what part of IT I want to get into. O-Net. O-Net is actually, as Larry mentioned, we actually did that workshop, I think it was about a month or 2 months ago or something like that, where we went into how to use O-Net. But you start doing the research. Okay, this is where I think I want to fall into. What certifications do I want to take? I want to take network security plus and networking. And what kind of jobs will I get if I have those types of certifications? So it literally is a process. And this is where we come in as a career coaches. If you schedule an appointment to meet with us, we will walk you through those steps, because it really is a process. Even for the people who have experience, I want to move from being a software engineer, maybe to go into DevOps. What does that mean? What skills do I have that can transfer? So it's really important to research, because where people fail in job searching is that they don't do the research. They research when they get into the job, then sometimes they realize, I actually don't want to be in this company. I don't really like it because they didn't research before. Okay, and those are things that we talk about, and we're going to get into even in this presentation. It's researching and researching, because when you research, attending job fairs, believe it or not, when you have an opportunity to go to a job fair, you can speak to a recruiter. If you get there early, get there early. Either get there early, you know, mix around, stay a little later, because there's always that downside. There's always that time when you have nobody at your desk. I used to recruit. There'll be times I'll just be sitting there. And there'll be those individuals who would come to me and they would get my attention because I'm not doing anything. So I start talking to people. But you have to go out and network as well. You have to make yourself available. You know, look at what's happening, you know, like, for example, with what's that, Eventbrite. There's always something going on around work related. Industries are always doing something. Show up, volunteer. That's how you put yourself out there. You know, if they're having a conference or something and you show up, they're like, oh, I remember you. Wait, did you attend that event we had at the Marriott? You're like, oh, yes, I was volunteering. Oh, wonderful. Before you know it, you become volunteer number one. Next thing you know, they're remembering you when there's an opportunity, like, hey, you know, I've seen you volunteer at a couple of our job fairs. There's an opportunity. Let me connect you to Larry, because Larry recruits for our XYZ. And then you're in there. So it is work. Looking for a job, believe it or not, is a job itself. It really is. You have to dedicate time. You have to mark out time to put in to do the work.
I mean, giving yourself a deadline, that's something that I wouldn't advise on an immediate plan, because you may have a deadline for 2 weeks. I'm gonna look for a job every day for 2 weeks. And if it doesn't happen in that 2 weeks, do you stop your job search? No. You wanna make sure it happens when it's supposed to happen, right? The right opportunity, not just any opportunity. So just keep in mind that, yeah, like Ms. Kona said, a job search is a job in itself, okay? Go to the next. The types of employment, right? Does anyone know what full-time employment is? Can anyone tell me?
Or more.
For some jobs, actually, sometimes it can be 35 hours or more. It can be salaried or waged. But yeah, usually it's over 35 hours, typically 40. What about part-time? Does anyone know what part-time employment is? Yes.
When we work several days, for example, weekly 2 or 3 times, for example, 6 hours.
Yes.
Mhm.
So part-time employment could be 6 hours a day or less. Is less than full-time employment, generally speaking. Usually part-time employees don't have all of the benefits that are included with a full-time employee. So full-time employees may get health care, you know, may get certain assistance that part-time employees don't get. You might have organizations who provide that. There are special cases, but usually part-time employees don't receive the benefits that full-time employees do. And also don't receive the salaries or wages as well. So contractual, does anyone know what a contractual employee is?
Amount of time.
Exactly. So the contract can be for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, right? It could be for a year. And depending on the length of the contract, seasonal, yes, temporary. Or, you know, some people say contracts are depending on the organization, how they bring on their employees. But contractual is usually for a certain amount of time. And they can be renewed. Employees can be moved on to be full-time or part-time, but contractual usually have a deadline, okay? Apprenticeships.
Learned, they teach you how to do things.
Yes.
And usually sometimes they stay, right?
Yes, exactly. So an apprenticeship is when you do a certain length of on-the-job training. It's contractual in a way. And it could be 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. But in that length of time, you generally get an increase in wage, maybe halfway through. And then after your contract is up for the apprenticeship, if you actually met all the standards, then they will bring you on full-time. So an apprenticeship, the The actual obligation is for you to actually become a full-time employee, right? And a part of the organization. An internship is different. Does anyone know what an internship is?
Or, but usually just you go in as a contract for 3 months or something, and then they teach you the skills, and sometimes you can stay or you can. In some companies, they just teach you the skills so that you can get a better job, but.
Yes. Yeah. There's no guarantee of full-time employment or employment after the contract is up. Right. So it may be, like you said, 3 months, 6 months, or whatever. But there's no guarantee that you'll be able to continue employment with the company afterwards.
Do internships there for high schoolers and things.
Yeah, a lot of high schoolers get internships, college students as well. Some are paid, some are unpaid, right? If they're unpaid, you just want to keep in mind that you're building relationships, you're building your network, you're getting to know people, and you're also getting the experience, the on-the-job training, and you're getting your feet wet in the industry. Okay, so that's the plus of having non-paid internships. Some people who have certain obligations may have to have a part-time job outside of that, may have to, figure something out as far as those barriers are concerned. But usually those non-paid internships can become a great thing because you do get the hands-on experience. In-person, remote, and hybrid. Who knows the difference between the three? What's the difference between a remote job and a hybrid job? Okay.
And hybrid is you can work from home, but also you have to be in the office.
Yes,
We
exactly.
control our hours. When we can work morning or evening.
That's
I
depending on the role, right?
Mhm.
So that's what we talk about when you make your plan, what kind of role or the must-haves. A hybrid job, there's a obligation sometimes to go in the office, and some companies or some roles might allow you to make your own schedule, but some might not. It might be a certain day or a certain amount of hours that you have to go in. So it's very important that you know the differences, and when you decide to take a job on, if they say it's remote, that you ask that question. Do I get to decide which days I go in or the hours I work, if it's feasible for you, right? And with all of these types of employments, you will be building relationships. So anyone you meet, you want to make sure they're a part of your network. So you want to get their phone number. You want to, figure out how you can build some kind of common ground, right? You want to let them know what your interests are, what your goals are, especially if they are someone higher up, right? Whether it's a manager, director, executive director, CEO, president, whoever, a coworker, a team member. You just want to make sure that you put yourself out there in a manner that they know who you are, what your skill sets are, and if there is ever an opportunity that opens up for you, then you're the first person they think of. Even after you leave, say, that internship, or if you don't continue after that contract, you still keep in touch with those people and see if those roles are available. Okay. Thanks. Did anyone have any questions about the types of employment, by the way? Okay. Knowing your industry. We kind of touched on this, but just, in making your plan, you want to know, is your industry growing or declining, right? You don't want to go into a declining industry, because that would mean once you get in there, you might do the work to get in, and 5 years later, you might be looking for a different job, might be looking for a different industry, because the market has declined and you're not getting paid as much. Inflation is pretty much the cost of goods. You want your salary to go up with the cost of goods. You want the industry to go up with the cost of goods. If it doesn't, then, that might be a problem for your situation if you think of your must-haves. Then you want to know what the salary potential is. What is the salary potential? What skills do you need? Does anyone know what skills you need for IT? What are some skills that you would need to get into the IT industry? Troubleshooting, exactly. That's one. Anything
I
else?
didn't understand well.
What are the skills you need to go into the IT industry?
Innovation,
What is that?
innovation.
Innovation. You got to be innovative. Very true. Anything else? Scrum. Scrum Master. That's a big one. Yes.
Mhm.
What about customer service?
Somebody said that. in the
Yeah.
chat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, customer service is major.
Right.
Right? You'll be talking, communicating with people. You're trying to figure out problems that they have. So you want to be as positive as you can, and you want to communicate.
And
well.
to know a very good computer,
Sorry?
to know very well how to use
Yeah,
computer.
yeah, the insides and outs of
For example, for me, that problem.
what you say.
That's a problem, but.
That's a problem for you. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's, you going into the industry, you learn education and you gain skills. So I understand.
Because in my country,
Mm.
when I was in high school, we didn't learn that. But now in my country, kids, everybody learn. But in my time, we didn't.
Oh,
That's why I have.
oh, it's all good. I mean, we probably know the same amount about a computer. I'm gonna tell you that, right? Because it's something that you have to have specific knowledge on. It's not computer. The skills, you have transferable skills such as customer service and communication and things like that, that will help you suffice in the industry, but you also have to have the technical knowledge. So you have to know how to work with Java or Apple or Microsoft or you know what I mean? Any of the softwares that it entails. And you have to know the hardware. So it's a little bit of both, right? So using those transferable skills and incorporating those technical skills is very important in the IT industry as well. What kind of work is performed? Usually it's, you're a service provider, you're working with people. A lot of IT specialists or individuals who work in that realm will have the opportunity to work alone and be introverted sometimes. But when needs are specified, then they have to know how to talk to people. They have to know how to engage and understand what someone is asking of them, right? So knowing what kind of work is performed. And looking at the roles before the titles, like we talked about, there may be a title of a help desk, and then there may be a title of tier 1 support. They may be the same role, but they have different titles. So even though it's not listed in a specific organization, or they're not listed side by side, knowing what each role entails is important for your job search, because you'll be able to search for a help desk role and you'll be able to search for a tier 1 support role. And then, if it's something different and beyond, right? Just knowing those lateral moves that you can make is important. Right? Does anyone have any questions about knowledge of the industry? Okay. So the online job search, which is where you'll probably be doing most of your searching, you want to make sure you tailor it, right? And when you tailor your job search, that goes for after you make your plan, you'll have the opportunity to add filters to some of these websites that we'll speak about. So you have Indeed. Indeed.com is probably the most common and has the most job opportunity and listings out of all of them. Excuse me. Then you have Monster.com. You have Career Builder. Then you have others like ZipRecruiter. You have Google. Google actually has jobs, and you have government jobs such as USA Jobs, and you have LinkedIn. LinkedIn is major, and I don't know if everyone has one. It's pretty much a social media for professionals, and that's a way that you actually get your name out there. You build your network. You add people who you work with and you may have engagements with, and then you'll be able to search for jobs there as well, right? And there are a lot of them on that site. You confirm openings on any of these sites, right? So if you apply on Indeed, you may still have to go to the company website to make sure that job is available, okay? So let's give an example. If there is a career coach opening at Career Catchers, right? I see that on Indeed. So I apply on Indeed, but I'm not sure if it's official. or I'm not sure if they'll see my application on Indeed, I will go to the Career Catchers website and go to their career opportunities and see if that job is available on that website. And I'll also fill out an application there, just so I can be sure that they see it. You know what I mean? And you would do that if you're going to these third-party job boards. Okay, does that make sense?
Apply on Indeed and then also apply on the company website? Or not really?
I would, but if you have to choose and you might not feel like you have the time, I will apply on the company website. Yeah. Sometimes they might, Indeed, they use AI. So we're talking about some innovative tech type of tech things, but they use AI. So they may get 1,000 to 2,000 applications for one role, one posting. And they're not going to look through 2,000 applications or 1,000. They're going to use a simulator or AI, and they're going to get rid of some of those applications by what you write on your resume, the skills and backgrounds you have, and then they'll minimize it to a certain list of individuals who they can look through and actually choose if they want to bring in for an interview. So it might be easier to go to the job posting, the actual job site, and fill out that application there, because it's probably not a lot of people who's not going to do that. It might be more time consuming, but you may be able to get through clear if that makes sense. And Ms. Kona, if you want to add, okay. So I always think it's better to go to their staffing agencies can be a good start. There are some private and public staffing agencies where they'll get you a contract, a temporary job, and once again, you'll be able to gain those skills, those relationships, etc. And eventually, you might get a full-time role from it. Utilize the Maryland Workforce Exchange. Ms. Kona, can you help me explain that?
Exchange is a platform that is available to everybody in the state of Maryland. And one of the cool things about it is that employers from all over will put into MWE. So you can access MWE by just going on to just Google MWE, but also by registering with the American Job Centers. So in Montgomery County, ours is called WorkSource Montgomery. And connecting with WorkSource Montgomery will also give you access to free trainings through the WIOA. And you can get up to, I think now it's about $5,000 or close to $5,000, where you can utilize those dollars for certifications and stuff like that. But Maryland Workforce Exchange, you log on, you put in all of your information in there, and then the employers that are looking at the resumes just as it would be in Indeed as well. So on the Maryland Workforce Exchange, you can look for employment opportunities. They have opportunities for apprenticeships. They have opportunities for trainings as well. And we actually facilitate a workshop on MWE on the Career Catcher site, so you might want to look out for that.
Thank you. And you want to identify targeted recruitments, write down your information and keep your resume updated. So right now you may create your resume. In 2 months, you may have a different accomplishment. You may get a new certification, you may do a new training, or you may have found another job that you want to add to your resume. You just want to make sure it's updated as you're putting in these applications, because you don't want to miss out, or they don't want to miss out on you, because you might have forgot to add something that you've recently done. You know what I mean? So just make sure you keep your resume updated. And quality versus quantity of applications. Yeah, you can put in more applications, you can continue to do so, but it may be overworking yourself, opposed to like updating your resume and putting in the specific applications for the jobs that actually fit your experience, your interest, and your plan, right? You don't want to overwork yourself in this job search. So just making sure that you value the quantity over the quality. I mean, the quality over the quantity that you put in. Apologies. Your network. Who is your network? So start with who you know. It can be a family, it can be a friend, it can be a former coworker or supervisor. It can be a classmate. Anyone that you know can be a part of your network, and they may have an opportunity for you And you never know it because you haven't spoke up or spoke to them, right? So just keep that in mind. You want to prepare your elevator speech. Anytime you speak with someone and they want to know about your background, just have it in your back pocket. Just understand exactly what your qualifications are, your skills, your education and all, right? Just be able to speak to what you can do and who you are. Yeah.
The other thing with networking is I think so often we underestimate the people in our immediate circle, family, friends, right? So many years ago, I knew a lady, she was a student of mine, who was unaware that her uncle, who was a janitor at a company, knew everybody in that company, assuming because he was a janitor, like who would my uncle know? Like he just cleans the building, but not knowing that her uncle had worked this building for so long, everybody knew who he was. They respected him. And I remember having a conversation. I facilitated a workshop on networking, which, by the way, Career Catchers is holding tomorrow, so you guys can come in for that. But I was talking about never underestimate the people that you know, because somebody you know might know somebody who knows somebody. And surely enough, they ended up having a family dinner or something. And, she just, brought it out to the people on the table. She's like, oh, by the way, I'm looking for a job and I'm interested in this. And her uncle says, oh, yeah, I work for this company. She goes, yeah, I know you work there. You're a janitor. He goes, yeah, but I know this person. And she was like, really? And her uncle was like, yeah, I've been working at the company for over 10 years. The HR manager, I remember when he started off when he was a junior. The guy who's the CEO now, I remember when he started off and he was. So you never underestimate people who you know in your family. You don't know who their friends are. You don't know who their friends' friends are. So just because your cousin may not look like they know everything, I mean, there's some people you're like, I know I'm not going to ask. Okay, we all know that, right? We all have that one person, but you just never know who they know. So as Larry said, have your elevator pitch ready. Let them know that you're looking for work. And when you're asking people for work, it's how you ask. Larry, I'm looking for work. Larry's gonna be like, oh no, Eduardo, I'm looking for them. I'm like, I don't want that person. It's how you ask. Don't be so desperate, even if you are, but don't come out so desperate. Because when you're desperate, I don't know what it is about the human nature. For some people, when they realize you're so desperate, they're like, it's okay, they'll be all right. But it's how you ask them, oh, but yeah, by the way, I'm looking for work right now. And if you know of any opportunities that are available, I'll definitely be interested. If you have any job fairs, it's how. So you have to kind of put that script together. How am I going to ask people that I know that I'm looking for work, where I don't sound so needy and so desperate, right? But I'm just literally letting them know that I'm looking for something. So that's something that you have to come up with and figure out how you're going to articulate that to the people within your network. But the biggest takeaway is never underestimate who you know. I mean, people who I met a lady, I didn't know that she was I used to work in this building, and the woman was the cleaner on my floor. And every time she would clean the bathroom, how like some people are disrespectful, they go in while the cleaners are cleaning, I would always wait outside. So I started talking to her. And then one day I was telling her, oh my gosh, this bathroom, the soap always runs out and there's no soap in the bathroom. And then I said, I've asked the other cleaners, but I guess I have to go and ask another cleaner because nobody seems to be getting the soap, but maybe I need to go and write to the owner. And she starts to laugh. So she goes, oh, I'll make sure I tell the owner. I said, okay, next day, there's a whole bunch of soap in the bathroom. So I said, oh, thank you so much for telling the owner. And then I started talking to her more. And then I asked her something one day, and it's the way she responded. I said, wait a minute, do you know the owner? She said, yes, I know the owner very well. I said, oh, really? She goes, yeah, they clean this building and this building and this building in the area where I said, wow. I said, wow, they have a lot of stuff. She goes, yeah, it's a lot of work. And I looked at her again, but it's the way she was speaking to me, right? And then I say, are you the owner? She said, yeah. I had no idea the owner was cleaning my floor. You know what I'm saying? So you never know. You just never know who is in your presence. You never know who. I went back and told everybody on my team, I said, y'all better be nice to that lady. She's the one that cleaned, from that point on, everybody, even the people who used to go in there when she was cleaning, they stopped. Now, that's not how it should be because they know who she is. The point I'm trying to make is regardless of who the individual is, one, respect, and then two, just ask questions because you never know who they know. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Exploring options for volunteering. I'm not sure where we stopped at. Please help. Oh, utilizing LinkedIn, right? It's all good. Utilizing LinkedIn, right? So like I said, it's a professional social media page. You want to make sure everything that you've done is on there. But the most important piece is actually adding individuals who are in your network, right? Because eventually they might post a job, they may be looking for someone to fill a role, and they might see you post something that you're doing that's really good. You know, that you might achieve something new, and they feel like you're a great fit for their company. And that's just something to think about. But LinkedIn is probably the most useful tool in your job search. I will say that because I didn't used to use it. I didn't use it at all. And then I started working in IT, not specifically in IT, but more so workforce development. But I was working with IT students, and I started meeting different people, and I had to add them to my network. And then I realized I had a lot of different resources that I could go to for different things, right? So even so, for example, my son, right? I was looking for childcare, and I didn't want to pay an arm and a leg. So I met this lady. She was actually the CEO of a school. You know what I mean? It was a private school as well, so it cost a nice amount of money. And I met her at a networking event, and eventually, when I was looking for a school, I said, I'm going to reach out to her. So I reached out to her, and she actually responded and said, bring him in on Monday to take a look at the school. And I visited, and I liked it, and my wife liked it. So my wife was like, I don't think we could do this. I don't think we can afford this. So I spoke with the lady, and we actually got a discounted rate, and my son was able to attend the school because, of my networking and actually bringing her in on LinkedIn, and I was able to communicate with her. That simple. It's like a DM or inbox. So it's really important that you keep your LinkedIn up to date and that you engage in people and engage with people through LinkedIn. Yeah.
Shaking.
I
So
know.
you started it, but you haven't. Got you. No, I like your response, like kind of sort of. Got you.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to just create a LinkedIn page, even if you don't use it right away, just to have it. So when someone might actually be doing a background check for a job, and they may use your LinkedIn as confirmation that you are who you say you are. So that's something else that you should think about. But I would encourage everyone to make a LinkedIn page. Explore options for volunteering. It could be locally, it can be virtually even. You know what I mean? You just want to make sure that you're putting yourself out there to different employers, different resources, and showing that you're engaging in the community. Because they like people who will actually assist without need for return. Because we all need that, right? We need help, we need assistance, but we don't always have the funds or finance to pay for it. So when those funds and finances do come, you're able to reach out to those individuals who volunteer and say, hey, you did a great job with that. We actually need that. We have that role now in our organization where we're able to pay for it. So would you mind coming in and maybe interviewing, or we would just like to bring you on because you did such a great job. That's just one option or one opportunity that you might get. And there are plenty more outside of it. Utilize informational interviews. You might see something on LinkedIn, you might see it on YouTube, podcasts. I'm a big podcast guy, I love podcasts. So I get a lot of my information from those sites and those videos that I don't know. I like to say I go to YouTube University. I learned a lot of information that I have from YouTube. So interviews are actually very much useful. Assemble your materials. Okay, we're almost done. You want to make sure you assemble your materials, your resume. Your resume is the most important piece, of course. You have your relevant skills, education, and experience within your resume. Anything else you would add to your resume?
What else should you add to your resume outside of your skills, your education, and your experience? And when I say experience, that means work experience. Is there anything else you should add? Yes.
You could add any like volunteer work that you've done.
Yes, volunteer work, very important. You might be applying for a job where you volunteer. If I want a job at Enoch Pratt and I volunteer there for a summer program, they might be more inclined to hire me or bring me in for an interview than someone who hasn't done anything with Enoch Pratt. Anything else that should go on your resume?
I think if you
sort of like PMI, if you are partnering with them, some companies out there.
In a way,
Not like a hobbyist, but it's more like a professional partnerships or something.
if it's an achievement or an accomplishment, yes, you should. So you should add achievements and accomplishments. If say you have fundraised $1,000 or $100,000 or anything for a company in your past roles, you want to highlight that. If you received a new certification or training, you should always add that to your resume. And you want to add them to the top if they actually pertain to the job or the role that you're going for. Right. So if you're looking for an IT role, you want to make sure that you have your technical skills, your technical certifications and education above anything else. So if you don't have any experience in IT, but you have certifications, technical skills, etc., then you would place your past work experience at the bottom, and those technical skills and those certifications that pertain to IT at the top, because you want that to be the first thing they see.
I have a question.
Yes.
For example, can I add my experience from my country?
Yes, very much so. And that's because you have those transferable skills.
Mhm.
Exactly. You might not have done something in IT, but you do have experience, and you can highlight that on your resume as well. And we talk about technical skills, but there are soft skills too, like communication, customer service, team building, etc. Grant writing, leadership, all of these things. Then you have you want to make sure you research different examples of resumes. There are different templates. There are a lot of hundreds of them, thousands of them even. And you might want to use a specific one based on the role you're going for or the look you're going for, right? And what you want to highlight. And also, you want to make sure that it fits those algorithms or that AI specific, the AI submission per se, right? Because when you have a certain template on your resume, it might not go through and it might not look the same on the other end as it does to you. So you want to make sure it's formatted correctly. And you can work with a career coach to do that, but there are a lot of different ways that you can format your resume where it will look the same from one end to another, opposed to having to use a template that might not. Yes.
We do have a question
Yes.
from online, and
Mhm.
Maxime is asking, please explain experience versus certification one more time.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's talk about skills. Your skills are technical and they can be soft, right? In IT, a skill would be knowing Scrum or knowing Java, Linux, any kind of software or hardware skills that has to do specifically with IT, troubleshooting, networking, etc. Then you have soft skills such as communication, customer service, leadership, team building, and so on. Then you have education. Your education is high school, college, high school adjacent, college adjacent, and even trainings can be looked at as education, right? So if you go to an IT training program, then that can be also added as education. Then you have your experience, which is your work experience. That includes your past jobs, your, any kind of contracts that you had previously, full-time, part-time, apprenticeships, internships as well, right? That's your past work experience. And then you have your certifications and your trainings, right? Certifications are what you attain once you go through a specific training and you pass an exam, right? So for IT, the exams would include certifications in A+, ITF+. These are just the names of the levels of the exam. Networking plus, security, cyber security, cloud computing, and all of these different certifications, right? So you go through a training, you study, you take the test, then you get the certification. And you want to place the certification that you achieve at the top of your resume, under your name and all of your contact information, right? That's the first thing you want to highlight, because you are looking for a specific role, and a qualification may be that you have to have a certification or a certain level of training or experience. Does that make sense? Okay, no problem. And cover letter, right? So some jobs might not ask for a cover letter, but you want to always have one on hand. A cover letter is pretty much it's just saying who you are, what your background is. It's kind of like a summary of your resume in a way. What is your experience and the role that you're looking at, and why you feel like you would be a great fit for the role. Okay. I'm sorry. Yes,
that
it's very important because that's your first introduction to the employer. Right? So you will send a cover letter along with your resume sometimes, but they might ask for them separately if you're doing an application online. And they might look at your cover letter, and if it's not good enough or it's not something they want to see, then they might not look at your resume. But if your cover letter looks good to them and you highlight some of your qualifications, they feel like you will be a great fit for their team, then they'll look at your resume. So that's the difference between a cover letter and a resume. Your cover letter is more like your introduction to the individual. Your resume is like, okay, here's my skills, here's my experience, and everything listed. If that's clear enough. It's like a first impression, per se. You know, you may walk up to someone and you give them a handshake, you look them in the eye, they say, okay, this person is professional or they're respectful. But if you walk up to someone and you don't acknowledge them or you don't look them in the eye, then they might feel like that's not someone they want to get to know, befriend, or even hire, if that's the case, if that makes sense. So your cover letter is your first impression. Then you want to have follow-up emails. You want to have the templates in place, right? And follow-up emails come in different forms. You have the before the interview, the after interview, and a reschedule, right? So you put in the application. Let's say you put in the application for career catchers. You haven't heard anything in a week, but you're trying to figure out, hey, am I rejected? Am I accepted? Do I get an interview? So you send in a follow-up on your application. And that follow-up says, hello, I applied for such and such role. Here's my resume, here's my cover letter, and please feel free to contact me here. Right? And that's through email. That's not an application, that's through email. You've already filled out the application. Does that make sense? That is your pre-interview follow-up. Then you have a post-interview follow-up if you've already been contacted and you want to just follow up with the people who actually interviewed you, the employer who interviewed you. And then you'll send a thank you to them after you have the interview. And last but not least, you have a reschedule. You might have something come up. You might have to leave your home or not be able to make the interview. And you just want to let them know that you're rescheduled. And last but not least, you have your references. Most employers do require 3, but it's always good to have more on hand just in case those 3 don't show up, or you want to use someone else. It's best to have supervisors and coworkers as your references because it shows a direct connection to your past firms. And you can also, some people use different partners and resourceful partners, and even it can be personal. They'll tell you that it can be personal references, but I wouldn't advise it because there might not be as well as a connection as it would be to a professional. Does anyone have any questions about the study session?
We do have one.
Yes.
Sorry. We do have another question online, and Maxine is asking, sometimes when you apply for a job with your resume, you have an opportunity to send a message to the recruiter.
Yes.
Is it a good idea to send a cover letter or something else?
I say a cover letter.
I would send both. I would, if you can send a message to the recruiter, I would send a cover letter and the resume. And I will let them know that I'll attach my cover letter and my resume, and also your contact information. Contact information includes email and phone number. Let them know you accept call, text, and email, right? Any form of contact you accept because you want them to feel comfortable reaching out to you in whatever way is possible, so you can actually be heard. You know what I mean? So I would advise to send the cover letter and resume and those follow-ups. Skills and training, once again, highlight the highest level first, whether it's the certification that you attain, any kind of training you have, or if you have master's level or bachelor's or any level of degrees, then I would
I would advise that you add that to the top and your specialization. Specify technical skills before transferables. So like we were talking about those IT specific skills before you talk about the transferable soft skills. Set aside time to learn or review your skills. You do have to know your resume as if you were studying a script. Because once you get into the interview, you want to be able to say anything that you stated on the resume and talk about it in story form. Know what you need for your industry. Talk about knowledge of the industry and knowing exactly what it entails. Utilize free online trainings that could include those videos, that could include Coursera if you have it, or something different. Utilize formal training courses or professional groups such as this. This can be considered a professional group, workshop, etc. And look for volunteer opportunities. You can find that within your community. You can look online to find volunteer opportunities. You can even call sometimes. Sometimes you can call whatever company you see if they need assistance in any aspect, and feel free to, reach out to you if they need it. And stay positive. Last but not least, stay positive. Don't take it personal because the job search is it can be frustrating. It can cause you to feel discouraged sometimes, but you don't want to take anything personal. There are a lot of people who are looking for jobs, and especially the same roles that you might be. So don't take it personal at all. You don't want to be too hard on yourself. You may have done a great job, but someone else may have had a reference within the company. You know what I mean? So that may have gotten them the job over your amazing interview. Reward yourself. You want to make sure that you show appreciation to yourself. If you've been looking for a job for a certain amount of time, and you might have even turned down jobs. You want to reward yourself for staying on the plan that you had created, and making sure that you keep yourself up and hold yourself to a high standard. You don't want to lower your standards because you haven't found the opportunity that you look. You want to create a routine and regular goals, and then you want to also find support. You might need to reach out to myself or Spoon or even Eduardo if if you like, and ask for assistance in any way. Right? We're always here, and you may also have people in your corner who will assist you in any way that you need. Okay? But don't be too hard on yourself and stay positive about it's important. Now, does anyone have any questions regarding anything so far?
Well, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. Thank you to Larry and Ms. Kunda from Career Catchers. A great presentation. And thank you so much. Actually, that wraps up our presentations for the fall, our career presentations for the fall. But we are already, I want to remind you that we are already working on the ones for spring. Actually, we already have dates. We haven't posted them quite yet, but we are going to start series again in the spring of 2024. I wanted to show everybody how you can sign up for the workshops or also for the career coaching. And if you go to our website, ignitehubmc.com, you go to programs, career coaching, this is the page where we will be posting. As you can see, this was our last career career workshop for the fall 2023, but again, we will be starting them in late January of 2024. The dates will be posted. Also, here's where you can make an appointment to talk to career coach. Actually, today, our appointments are sold out. Pretty much, you can meet with them here in person at the Ignite Hall or virtually. You can set up a 30-minute appointment. Again, the next opportunity will be when we restart our career workshops in January. So be on the lookout for that. And again, this is a service that's completely free, and you will be able to have a career coach from Career Catchers to help you in your career for up to 2 years. So that is a great service. I recommend everybody to sign on that. Last but not least, before we leave, I will first of all would like to thank everybody for being here today, and I will like to ask everybody, both online and in person, to take a couple of minutes to complete this survey. That let us know, that inform us on what you would like to see, what you found good or bad about this or any of our other events, so we can plan accordingly. Thank you so much to, again, Larry and Kundan Career Catchers for this great partnership. Thanks to everybody who attended this meeting today. And again, if we don't see you again, I really hope that you have great holidays, and we'll restart again in the spring 2024. Thank you so much.
Thank you.